Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a new episode of Chatting with Lady C. Hi, Mum, how are you?
Hi, honey, I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright. Solving this mic problem is been a great disaster.
Oh, you're doing very well, honey. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Mickey's here to encourage us. Yes.
Yes, it is. It's alright though.
Oh, actually, can I say something? One or two people have asked what Mickey's breed is. Mickey is a Cavalier King Charles. Somebody made the observation that she's rather big for a Cavalier King Charles. Yes, she is. But the bigger they are, the fewer health problems they have. And also, Mickey has a rather long snout and a rather high forehead, which means that she therefore doesn't have the heart and brain problems that a lot of Cavalier King Charles Spaniels are prone to. Because to me, the important thing was that my Babasita would be a very healthy Amy Bobby. And she is. Yes, Mix, yes. So, now, honey, what do you have in store for us?
So, we've got one question, and then we're going to be talking about a different subject that we'll get onto a little bit later. So I'm just going to start off with our first question. So last Thursday, Meghan Markle took part in Michelle Obama's When We All Vote, putting extraordinary pressure on women to vote by warning them that if you are complacent, you are complicit. We can make the difference in this election, and we will make the difference in this election. Is this gross interference in a foreign election? As if so, is Piers Morgan right in calling for her and Harry to be stripped of their titles? Also, are people like Bette Midler right in supporting Meghan?
Oh, very interesting question. And actually, rather less straightforward than people might realise. Meghan, of course, is an American citizen, and all American citizens have the right to vote. Meghan has skated very close to the forbidden arena of recommending that people vote in a particular way. You could take the view, if you bend over backwards and are as fair as I try to be, that because Meghan is an American citizen, she has the right to appeal to people to vote. If she were neutral about it, this would not be unacceptable. The fact that she does it in a former Democratic First Lady's forum, and that she is well known to be a Democratic Party supporter, and also the way in which she does it. I mean, what I find interesting is that Meghan is actually revealing how manipulative she is and how basically threatening she is as a personality. It's not enough for her to say, you know, I support the right of all women to vote, and therefore I would recommend that every time there is an election, you vote. She doesn't do that. She threatens, she cajoles, she manipulates, you know, there are consequences. If you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're a nasty person. But I know you're going to do what I've told you to do. I mean, it's... Every time she does something like this, she provides fodder for her detractors to think, hang on a second, dearie, what's going on here? I mean, she unmasks herself and shows the more undesirable side of her personality when she behaves like this. So that's on a personal level. Piers Morgan, of course, is absolutely right. On a national level, it is an outrage for any member of any royal family to be interfering in the politics of another national entity. Now, you could say that because Meghan is an American, she has a right, except Meghan's primary platform owes everything to her being a member of the British royal family. Let's remember, Meghan Markle was a D-list ensemble player in a cable television show that no one had ever heard of, except the die-hard viewers of daytime cable television. No one knew who she was until she linked up with Harry. So therefore, her whole profile is completely caught up, and her reason for being a celebrity and a public figure is entirely caught up with her being a member of the British royal family. I think Piers' position has a degree of merit. Just as how people can bend over backwards and say, well, Meghan being an American citizen has the right to encourage women to vote, although I do not think she has the right to have done it the way she did it, because I think she really strayed beyond neutrality into party political broadcasting, and she's done this before, and it is really completely forbidden. Piers also, as a commentator on the British national scene and a British citizen, has the right to call for her to be stripped of her royal status, because if her conduct is incompatible with her royal status and she is refusing to behave as she is required to behave in the national interest and in the interest of the monarchy, which is a national institution. There are people in America who are naive enough to think, oh, the British royal family might be endorsing what Meghan says. So, there's then the suspicion that she is somehow acting on behalf of the British royal family. So it gets into very murky, very murky terrain. As for Bette Midler, I rather like Bette Midler as a comedian. I've never met her, but I think she's absolutely hysterical as a comedian. Well, I'm happy to pay good money to see Bette Midler articulate someone else's script. I'm not interested in Bette Midler's political opinions. As for Bette Midler's comment, she actually used the F word in terms of what she thought Piers Morgan should do. Well, she's a well-known liberal supporter of the American Democratic Party, which is her right. But it really is not her right to tell a British political commentator that he has no right to voice an opinion when a member of our royal family is actually behaving against the national and royal interest. So I think Bette Midler is also straying into very, very murky territory. And this is a problem with Meghan and Harry to a lesser extent. They confuse every issue. They are always straying into territory that they shouldn't. They pollute the pond. They take what is effectively filth, and they jump into a fresh pond, sully it, jump out, jump into another pond. And they are like very naughty children going from ornamental pond to ornamental pond in a beautiful say, French 17th century garden, where each of the ponds has a beautiful fountain with very clear water. They go in all grubby, mess it up, go into another one, mess it up. It's very, very irresponsible behavior. Very irresponsible behavior. And if Piers wants to call for them to be stripped of their titles, he's well within his rights to do so. Now, what do you think?
I'm not sure what I think, to be honest.
Well, then, shall we go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay.
There's not much to say. I mean, everybody else has got their own opinion. What Piers Morgan is asking is probably a good way, because she's basically just come and left. She's married into family, got her title and left. So
grabbing the goodies and departing.
And to do what? No, for nothing.
Well,
she doesn't need it. She doesn't want to use it.
Well, she does need it, actually, I would say, because I'll tell you why. I think she was very low grade before. She's now high octane. So what she's really done is she's upgraded herself. She's sort of grabbed the goodies and run. And unfortunately, the goodies are pretty much intangibles. You know, she's gone from being a D-lister to an international superstar. And she's milking that for all it's worth, just as how she's milked everything else that she ever had going for her for what it's worth. And while I think it's very admirable that people maximize their gifts and their advantages, I do think we also have a responsibility to not milk things to the detriment of others, and certainly not to the detriment of those to whom we should be appreciative. You know, don't bite the hand that feeds you. So what do you think about the next thing, honey?
So yes, for our next thing, we're going to be talking about Meghan and Harry's book, Finding Freebies.
Funding Freedom and Finding Freebies, yes. Yes.
So, what are your comments on the book, Mum?
Okay, well, honey, I think we'll have to keep it short and sweet because it's a long book and there's an awful lot in it. But maybe I should just stick to the prologue and the introduction at this point. I would recommend to everybody who has any interest whatsoever in the subject of royalty and or the Sussexes to buy the book and read it. It adds a dimension to the story that my book lacks. And this book lacks several dimensions that my book possesses. So I think, in fact, people should read both if they want a full or at least a much fuller picture. Having said that, the book is an abomination. It is a study in vulgarity. It is covert racism. It is disgustingly vulgar. It is what Nicky Haslam would call common in the extreme. It is so, it bounces on the bottom of the barrel at every, oh dear. Mickey's seen a bird. Mickey, come. It bounces on the bottom of the barrel, plumbing every depth it can. It is rather like the subject of the book, devious, manipulative, artificial. I mean, you only need to look at amidst scabies and Meghan Markle to see that they are studies in plasticity. I mean, they have both turned themselves into reasonably well presented upgrades of what God created. I mean, you see amidst scabies before he had all the work he's had done, God knows what he's had done. I'm not an expert in that sort of thing. But I mean, he certainly looks nothing the way he used to look. And it's true of Meghan as well. Plasticity is not only their overriding attribute, it's also what this book is all about. It is basically offensive. Having said all of that, it shows Harry and Meghan, and you can hear Meghan's voice throughout all of this, as several people have told me who know her very well. They said even the wording is Meghan's. There is no doubt in my mind that Meghan, and to a lesser extent Harry, provided scabies and Cowering Durand with the information. I know that scabies has gone to some lengths to deny that they are involved, having of course at first said that they were involved. But you see, what has happened here is that when the reviews started to come in, and they were universally negative, and despite the book being the outstanding commercial success it is, it has been a complete literary farce, to such an extent that Amazon has had to ban Meghan's people from tampering with and falsifying the reviews, which is really rather interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never heard of somebody do that before. I have for a certain product, you boost up the product, you get your friends or friend of friends to basically buy the product and they give a good review on it, but that's really up to personal taste. If you bought the product and you didn't like it, you wouldn't write a review, but hand in hand, right? You get they can give it to you for free, you write a nice review on it, and you said it, but this is a book, it's up to personal taste. I think you're gonna read the back page, you're gonna see, okay, do I like this, do I not like this? You're not gonna read other people's reviews on what about the book. It's about personal taste.
Well, of course, both Meghan and Scabies, who is her Minister of Propaganda, are always busy, and Harry to an extent as well. We can't let Harry off the hook here. They are shapers of public opinion. They always want to shape the narrative. They always want to impose their point of view on everybody. And if you don't agree with me, you are an evil person, you know. And so I'm not surprised that because I also know from my own personal experience of not only scabies getting in touch with my people and trying to tamper with me and my book, and Meghan and Harry doing the same thing. So if that they were also trying to damage my credibility and my reputation. And so, no, I think this is what ministers of propaganda do. Nobody did it better than Joseph Goebbels for Adolf Hitler. And, you know, the German people were sold a pack of lies for the duration of the Nazi regime, where black was white, pink was green, the truth was a lie, the lie is the truth. And I hate to say it, but I do think that this is very reminiscent of conduct like that. I mean, this book is littered with lies passing themselves off as truth. It is littered with ignorance about the royal way and about the aristocratic way. And it's a mean and nasty work that's covered in treacle, mixed up with the stinkiest feces you have ever smelt in your life. And the combination of fecal matter and treacle is just sickening, because, and you're bogged down in it. I had to read it for professional reasons, but I cannot say I enjoyed it, although on the other hand, it's so outrageously dreadful that at the very moment I was repelled and revolted and repulsed, I was actually also quite entertained. And I thought, my God, do human beings rarely behave like this? And do human beings rarely have such a low opinion of other people's intelligence and other people's ability to see through their manipulations, their deceptions, their lies, their ambitions, their special pleading, their posturing, that they rarely believe that they're going to be able to get away with this? Well, of course, the fact of the matter is they have not been able to get away with it, because the universal condemnation of Harry and Meghan's contribution and of the fact that they cooperated with a book of such muck is well, that says it all. Having said that, if I may, I will touch upon one or two minor points before even getting into the body of the book, which we'll have to do some other time. The grammar in the book is dreadful. I don't know which party is responsible. I suspect it's scabies, because my experience of American grammarians and England and English grammarians is that English grammar nowadays is nowhere near as good as American grammar. There are several grammatical errors which have crept in to the English version of the language that are not true of the American version of the language. Most Americans understand still that a singular noun takes a singular verb. Most Americans are brought up to understand the difference between a collective noun and plural. This is something that appears to have been lost in the sands of time in England. So you have, on many occasions, perfectly supposedly well-educated people using for instance, saying the couple are. Well, one couple is, two couples are, or a pair are. No, a pair is. One pair, it's a collective noun, and a collective noun in the singular takes a singular verb. Well, we have on page 2, and I suspect this is Mr. Scabies as opposed to Miss Durrand, saying, we were on the steps of the Lindo wing when George, Charlotte and Louis each were born. Well, I mean, right there, that's just such bad grammar. Each were born. Each is singular. So the fact of the matter, each shouldn't be there at all. But I mean, this again is the wordiness of the book. The book doesn't seem to understand that words are used to convey thought. Of course, propagandists understand that words are used to disguise thought, and words are used to pervert the truth and not reveal it. So I get to an extent that this is not only about poor grammar, it's also about the mentality of a propagandist selling a lie and hoping that the public will buy it as the truth. But anyway, on the subject of a lie, on page 3 of the prologue, we have Mr. Scabies saying, being a mixed race Brit, one of the reasons that I, like a lot of the younger and more diverse demo, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex turned into royal watchers, found the American actress marrying into the House of Windsor so fascinating. Well, I'm struggling to actually understand what that sentence means right there.
Me too.
You know, because but again, it's the manipulativeness and it's that word salad tossed up to be meaningless. However, it's word salad tossed up meaninglessly to meaningfully tell a lie, because amidst scabies is not mixed race. Amidst scabies is 100% Caucasian. His father is a Scot. His mother is an Aryan. Aryans are archetypally Caucasian. Aryan people reside beside and originate from an area that is literally beside the Caucasus. Caucasian people are all white. The Aryans are more Caucasian in terms of distance than the Swedes, who are thousands of miles away from the Caucasus, to just put it in its actual geographical and factual context. But of course, Mr. Scabies has to play the race card and has Meghan playing the race card and excuses Meghan playing the race card, and has done it on the basis that he too is biracial. Well, he's not. It's a total lie. So right there we have. Then in just the following page, page 4, he has played the race card yet again. Some of the British press did little to hide racial undertones in snarky commentary and headlines. He knows, as well as I do, because we're both professionals, that the British press have suppressed an awful lot of stuff about Meghan, much of which is true, all of which is negative, and that race played little and no part in it. But of course, it's a cheap shot to blame race. Well, the fact of the matter is, his race card doesn't stack up any more than hers does. Because if the British people were such racists, how is it that they embraced her and she was the most popular half of a couple at the time of her marriage? You see the difficulty these people have in purveying their version of the truth, which is really nothing but a lie. So anyway, let's go to the last page of the prologue, where we have not even the malachite candelabras illuminating portrait paintings cast a gloomy light as the newest members of the royal family were saying goodbye, not just to their staff, but to an entire way of life. Well, I'm reliably informed by Mr. Scabies himself, as is the rest of the world, that he was privately educated. I think his father ought to demand back his money from the school, or then he deserves the dunce's cap. First of all, there's no such thing as candelabras, and if he was properly educated, which I imagine he was, because he's gone to great pains to point out that he's privately educated, he will know that there is one candelabrum, two candelabra, and 3 candelabras do not exist. Then he says, illuminating portrait paintings. I mean, didn't his English master strike out a redundancy? Portrait paintings. Portraits, full stop. Portrait paintings. I mean, honestly. But this is not only the stylistic and grammatical level, which is as low as the tone of the book itself, because it all bounces along at the bottom of a barrel, scraping every bit of muck it can, while presenting Meghan and Harry as victims of a cruel and dreadful royal family, where they have been so victimized. So anyway, let's go to the introduction. We have only one or two. We rarely have only one that I will alight upon because we don't want to make this too long. He has Harry complaining about the fact that when he reads negative comments about him, he's very distressed. This is on social media. Well, of course, as everybody in the public eye knows, don't read the comments. And if you, I mean, I read them sometimes to be entertained, you know. I mean, because some of them are so bizarre. I mean, people come up with the most extraordinary things, but people also come up with a lot of truth and a lot of very valid comments. And so if you don't want to be upset, don't read them. And if you're reading them, and you are going to accept the measured ones for what they are, sometimes people do actually come up with something that's truthful and critical. And equally, there are an awful lot of comments that are really just nasty, where, you know, you have really nasty people just indulging their nastiness. But you also have a lot of very sensible people making positive, decent observations. Well, Harry, of course, doesn't like any comment that's not positive. And so you then have Harry instantly regretted opening the link, his stomach tied into the same knot every time he saw these sort of comments. It's a sick part of the society we live in today, he says, and no one is doing anything about it. Where is the positivity? Why is everyone so miserable and angry?
Isn't his book called Finding Freedom?
Yes.
Well, that's freedom of speech. Leaving a comment.
Thank you, honey.
So that makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
Yes, that's the freedom of speech, that people want to leave a comment.
Yeah. Well,
that's why they stopped trolling, because before you could hide who you are, you can't do that now. So if you want to write a nasty, dirty comment, your name's coming up.
Well, that, of course, is why Harry and Meghan are quite determined, having tried to shut down the press unsuccessfully. They're now trying to shut down social media, which has been their latest initiative in the last few weeks. But it's interesting that they and amid scabies have been at it from while this book was being written. And they also, it wasn't just the press or online trolls getting to Harry. It was also the institution of the monarchy, at which point he plunges the knife into the rest of the royal family. Well, we've only reached the introduction, and we've had them playing the race card, the victim card, you know, a wicked monarchy, awful public. I mean, this book, I've gone through it, and the list of farcicalities is endless. And I suppose if people wish, I will address more of them in future. But I would recommend to everybody, buy the book. It will give you a measure of the people we are dealing with in a way that nothing else can, because Harry and Meghan, via their mouthpiece amid scabies and cowering Durand, hang themselves with every word that is written about them, all of which I have absolutely no doubt they uttered. I don't know how they sent it through in terms of whether it was by tape or by diary or by letter or by something, but several people who know them well have pointed out to me that they can hear their voices, in particular Meghan's. In particular Meghan's. And to wrap it up, and to show what liars the whole lot of them are, in the author's note at the end of the book, scabies has an admission of complicity. It is an unmistakable admission of complicity. Having gone to great lengths to say that he did not interview Harry or Meghan, and having contradicted himself making that statement in the earlier statement that Meghan and Harry had input into the book and that this was their response to set the record straight, once they had the negative backlash, they put distance between themselves and the book, and scabies, like a good mistress of propaganda, has been very happy to take the fall for them. However, the lie is contained on the first page of the author's notes, which says, "We have spoken with close friends of Harry and Meghan, royal aides and palace staff, past and present, the charities and organizations they have built long-standing relationships with, and when appropriate, the couple themselves." There is therefore no doubt that the authors spoke to Harry and Meghan, and Harry and Meghan are the ones who leaked all of the compromising information. The problem with this book, of course, is that it has compromised Harry and Meghan. The intention was to compromise the rest of the royal family, the British establishment, the British people, and throw everybody under a bus, as scabies and Durand drove the bus over everybody's corpse, splattering blood everywhere, while Meghan and Harry waved decorously and said, "Aren't we just wonderful?" Well, it's not quite worked out like that. And if people wish, I can touch upon some of the observations. We can even do a whole program on it, or maybe even two if they're that interested. But in the meantime, I think this is enough, don't you?
Yes, I think
and Mickey thinks it's
a little
enough.
bit of to the point. Yes, she wants attention again.
Yes, okay, come on, Mickey, come on. Oops.
It's fine.
Okay, come on. Oh, okay, Mickey's coming to say goodbye as well. Well, honey, did you enjoy that?
Yes, I did.
And thanks for your input. It was really invaluable. No,
Well, he's taking away freedom from people. If they want to say what they want to say, they want to say what they want to say. Might be nasty, don't get me wrong, a lot of people do leave nasty comments nowadays, but most people leave lovely comments, so you can't just take one bad comment out of 10,000 good comments.
Well, even if it's 9,000 bad comments, maybe there's a reason why, you know? I mean, it's...
And there you go, what you said, don't read them.
Yeah.
I know somebody that doesn't read any of the comments that they get from their shows or anything like that, and live a great life. Don't even read the good ones.
Well, I never ever read anything until
really.
recently, because, you know, and every now and then if I was in a good mood and I wanted to read something outrageous about myself, I would read a bad comment and laugh. But anyway, you know, and it's always nice to get the nice comments. But anyway, so I think, thank you very much for this. Please keep the comments coming in and the questions, and we will try to work our way through some of the questions on a diversity of subjects that you would like answered. Unfortunately, at this point, because every day or two, Meghan and Harry are coming up with some new thing that requires attention, it is my responsibility to give attention there, but we are very mindful of the fact that there's loads of other stuff that we want to cover.
Yes, and we shall be covering them little by little. So yes, well, thank you everybody, and if you like the show, hit the subscribe button and the like button as well, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, bye bye.